Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Today, I want to unravel a little political mystery. How is it that our political class managed to pass literally one of the most successful programs in history, a government program which was efficient, wildly popular, and insanely impactful, and then they let it die almost as soon as it had begun? I'm talking here about the expanded child tax credit was passed as part of the American Rescue Program at the beginning of the Biden administration. And then in July of 2021, $300 checks started to flow to millions of families. 90% of children in the country were eligible for these payments, and the benefit was immediate and it was obvious. Childhood poverty plummeted by 40%, lifting 3.6 million kids above the poverty line. Food insecurity fell by millions. The lies we've been told for decades about lazy parents just looking for a handout so they can stop working, those were all exposed as ugly myths. Studies found those who benefited did not drop out of the workforce as conservatives had predicted. Although I personally believe that working less so you can invest more time in raising your kids is a noble and worthwhile choice, one which supposedly pro-family conservatives should support more than anyone. But maybe even more powerful than the statistics are the anecdotes about what these payments meant to struggling families. New York Times just interviewed several beneficiaries, and it really breaks your heart to think about how this little shred of relief, which meant so much to these families, was ripped away so quickly and so cruelly. One dad said that with the child tax credit, it mostly went to help with bills, but it also enabled some small, previously impossible little luxuries. In particular, he said he was able to take his kids to Walmart for some new clothes so that it wouldn't be teased about their thrift store wardrobe. He was also able to take them to a state park for a night where they made s'mores and they slept in a borrowed tent. Of that trip, he said, "I saw a happiness in my wife and kids that I hadn't seen in a long time. I felt like father of the year." Another story showed why scaling back work isn't the horrible sin that some have portrayed it as. With child tax credit, one mom was able to briefly quit her night job so she could take her girls to their cheerleading classes. She told the Times, quote, "My kids always want me to be there. They looked so happy." But now, after less than a year, that credit is dead. Mom is back at the night job, and one of the girls dropped cheerleading altogether. There are no more state park trips or new Walmart clothes in the budget. Just like that, millions of kids, our most precious resource and most sacred responsibility, are plunged back into the stress and uncertainty of poverty. Lights cut off, housing insecurity, not having enough to eat, the whole thing. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, on a theoretical political level, yeah, I know what happened. Joe Manchin decided to kill Build Back Better. That was where Biden and Bernie had planned to extend this credit. Manchin spewed a bunch of evidence-free nonsense about how parents were using the credit to buy drugs as part of his justification for killing the whole Build Back Better effort. Sustained high inflation, then strengthened Manchin's hand, made Democrats go wobbly on all social programs. So we ended up with the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. That bill cut most of the social spending from Build Back Better, instead settling for a slice of the green manufacturing agenda. Republicans, a few of whom had previously floated some version of their own child tax credit, well, they've now turned fully to their old deficit reduction talk, and they're more likely to talk about cutting Social Security than they are cutting families a break. But on a deeper level, it really doesn't make any sense. The program worked. It was extremely popular across the political spectrum. How could it be dead and gone just like that? 70% of voters in these midterm elections said they supported the expanded child tax credit. Only 20% opposed it. It was especially important for the multiracial working class that both parties claim to want to represent now. Pollster Stan Greenberg, he found that hitting Republicans on their opposition to the child tax credit was even more impactful than hitting them on abortion rights for a bunch of crucial voting blocs. That includes Black and Latino voters, along with Gen Z and millennial voters. It was one of the top 3 issues for the white working class as well. But Democrats, they didn't run on the child tax credit. They didn't run on the fact that they passed it. They didn't attack Republicans for blocking it. There was no mass rebellion among those who had benefited from it once it was stripped away. And there are no clear plans from Democrats to try to reinstate it now in the lame duck session. The abandonment of this transformational program is a clear sign of the dysfunction in our democracy. A program that works, a program that's popular among 70% of the public, should be invincible. It should be impossible to kill. But the voters who benefited most from the program are also most likely to be politically disaffected and disenfranchised. The poor children themselves, of course, they don't get a vote. They don't have an army of lobbyists. They don't make political contributions. They don't organize fundraisers. Their parents, they may have a vote, but they are statistically likely to be non-voters, too busy struggling to get by to protest and too poor to donate to political candidates. Meanwhile, the voices which are loudest in the ear of the political class, while they're all singing the same song about how all the spending on the poor and the working class was causing inflation, but how we need the Fed to hike rates, to discipline labor, to fully bleed out the meager savings accounts of workers. And so Democrats, who are more enraptured with and concerned at this point by their affluent suburban voters, they went all in on abortion and January 6th instead. As Dan Greenberg put it, quote, "I think the main reason is that Democratic elected leaders see their political base as increasingly college-educated women voters in better educated suburbs and economically dynamic metropolitan areas. And they believe their diverse base of African Americans, Hispanics, and Asian Americans are motivated by identity politics more than economic issues." Listen, politically, the strategy worked well enough in the short term, at least. It was good enough to at least keep the Senate, keep the losses in the House to a minimum. But morally, it's a catastrophe. And it leaves Democrats politically vulnerable to any Republican who isn't a psycho election-denying freak. Now, the story doesn't have to end this way, though. It was another disaster for American democracy, another instance of the political class abandoning the working class and the poor. A number of progressive lawmakers signed onto a letter suggesting they will refuse to extend a number of corporate tax breaks in the lame duck session unless they re-up some version of the expanded child tax credit. Now, with Republicans set to control the House, this is realistically the last chance for the expanded child tax credit for a very long time. The last chance for millions of kids to get their new set of clothes from Walmart, their trip to the state park, their cheerleading classes, and their mom at home instead of at the night shift. The last chance for millions to go to bed with enough food in their bellies and a home with heat in the cold winter months. These children, they might be powerless, but they are counting on you. Please come through. And I saw Senator Michael Bennet, who is more of a centrist type. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.